did you envision that you would have that kind of flexibility? Like, did you know that
No,
this was going to be how it would play out?
no, not at all. I mean, and it's like sometimes it kind of feels like a competition to see how far you can get away with things. But yeah, I didn't think it'd be so flexible.
Welcome to the Military Bottom Line podcast, where we learn from veterans and those currently serving how to make the most out of a military contract. We're here to motivate, inspire, and help you leverage your service to positively impact you professionally, personally, and financially during your military career and beyond. What's up, guys? Thanks again for tuning in to another episode. Super stoked for this one. I met Leo a couple weeks ago at the gym on base here, and it's funny, he calls his military career a side hustle thus far, and so I think that's a really unique perspective. And his story and his involvement in the military is pretty unique, and is offering him a tremendous amount of flexibility that I didn't think existed really. So I think you guys will enjoy the show. It kind of shows like what are the possibilities of being in the military, and how good can it be. So I hope you guys tune in, stay tuned, and enjoy the show. What's going on, Leo? Thanks for joining.
Hey, no problem, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, dude. I remember it was just like a week or two ago. I met you at the gym on base, and I met you because I saw this dope van in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, who is this guy that's like van life kind of on the military base? Maybe he's a veteran or something like that. But I was surprised to learn that you're actually still in the military, living van life.
Yeah. I don't think I'm your typical military guy. For one, I call it like my side hustle when people ask me about it. And I'm just in the reserves as a nurse, ironically out of Salt Lake City. For people listening, this was like in Burlington, Vermont. We were at the gym happening at the same time. So, it's a 40-hour drive difference. But so my wife and I are travel nurses. So, and the gym at Camp Johnson is free and can't pass that up. So
can't beat free. Yeah.
Yeah. But
all
right.
But before, I want to jump into the van life, but I also want to get a little bit of backstory as to like how you ended up in the Army in the first place. I mean, like, was this a plan of yours, or did you just kind of like fall into it?
When I don't know, I always was interested in joining the military when I was like 15, 16, and then when I was applying for colleges, my dad told me about ROTC. He wasn't in the military, but he's always been interested in it. And so he, kind of handed me an ROTC application, or like showed me a link online, and I half-assed did it. Found out I got a 3-year nursing scholarship to University of Vermont. And with the 3-year nursing scholarship at UVM, like that was still cheaper than like going to just a normal like SUNY school in New York.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to be a nurse. My parents were nurses. I thought it was a cool gig. Like, my dad got hurt as a cop when he was a kid. I mean, he got hurt as a cop, and had to retire as a cop, but he had a nursing degree to fall back on. And then he ended up making more money because he was dipping into his pension and working as a nurse.
Interesting.
So it seemed like a cool gig. My mom told me you'll always have a job. The military, I was like, at that point, I thought I could join the military as like some badass infantry guy. And then, I find out in college, like, oh, I have to be a nurse. And so then I was like, okay, well, that happens, whatever.
Oh.
I'm not upset about that, but.
So because they gave you a scholarship for nursing, they expected you to be a nurse in the Army.
Yeah, it was 100% a nursing scholarship. And like, I tried my last 3 years of college to see if I can get out of it. And it went a couple echelons up the chain of command, but they were like, nah, we really need this kid to be a nurse. So it is what it is. I mean, I'm happy with it, but
yeah, right on. Definitely
Sorry.
what? Go
ahead. Just definitely a little bit envious of my buddies who are now like, Rangers and going to like selection next year and stuff like that. But
yeah, sure. Sure. How long ago did you graduate?
So I graduated in May of 2017.
2017. Okay. So, and how long is your obligation to the Army?
6 years in the reserves and then 2 years in the IRR.
Okay. That's not bad. I always thought that the ROTC route was an obligation to active duty.
So they get to pick essentially, and it's based off an OML that
they
you accumulate.
As in you, or they as in the Army?
The Army gets to pick.
Okay.
So my year 2017, they didn't need that many active duty nurses. So if you requested that you wanted to go into the reserves, then you got to go into the reserves. If you had enough order of merit list stuff. I know some people wanted the reserves and got told they had to go active duty. And that certainly seemed to happen more in the years after me that graduated from ROTC. So, but yeah, you can ask for whatever you want, but whatever they give you is up to them, really.
So you can't really, you start on this path with the expectation of a guarantee of reserves. If that's like your goal, you can't expect that as a guarantee.
No, I don't think you can. There is like some program where you can join ROTC as a National Guard officer, or go through ROTC with the expectation you're going to join the National Guard.
Yeah, but
that's like a separate pot of money. The National Guard pays for that. Okay. They just happen to do the same commissioning program.
Interesting.
But there's nothing like that for the reserves, as far as I know.
All right. So then you graduated. You had this obligation. The Army said you're going to be in the reserves. How did you end up in the reserves in Utah?
Well, I went to UVM, and that's a big ski college. And when you're a nurse, like you start applying for jobs like the last semester of your schooling. So I was applying for jobs in like February, March. And
civilian jobs or Army jobs? Like what?
Civilian jobs. Cause I knew I was going into the reserves at this point.
Gotcha.
And you get to, when you apply for jobs, you also apply for like, slots in units around the country. And so I applied for a field hospital position as a med-surg nurse in Salt Lake City, because I applied for an ICU job in Salt Lake City, and I got both. But cool. I think I originally applied for a field med-surg nurse job in like White River Junction, Vermont. And when I found out I didn't get a job in Vermont and I had to move, like, I got them to switch my unit. So, but I never joined that unit. I was just on their books maybe for like 1 month or something like that.
Interesting. But, so there's some flexibility, even like while the Army's going to tell you whether you're going to go active or reserves, where you go, if you're on a reserve component, you basically applied for different units. So there's flexibility there.
I think because like an empty slot is an empty slot, as long as you find a field hospital with an empty slot for a med-surg nurse who hasn't gone to BOLIC, then they, look at you as somebody who hasn't even started anything yet. So
gotcha.
What does it matter if you start there? What does it matter if you start here? Kind of thing.
Quickly, what is BOLIC? I'm not familiar with that.
BOLIC is Basic Officer Leaders Course. For nurses, it's like a month-long walk in the woods. But for infantry guys, it's like 4 month long.
Gotcha.
Walk in the woods. But,
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
all right. So then you're in the reserves, but I met you in the reserves in Utah, but I met you in Vermont, and you're currently working in Vermont. So I'm trying to get a better understanding and help the other people listening get a better understanding of how does that work? If you're supposed to be at drill, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year type thing, but you're living and working in Vermont, how do the logistics of that work out?
Well, I'm definitely taking advantage of the fact that coronavirus has made a lot of things online. So my drills are pretty much, they've been online since March. Okay. And, I'm part of a field hospital, right? So like that's doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists, physical therapists, etc. And not all of those people live in Salt Lake City. So they are flying in for drill, people as far as like Texas, Chicago, like really wherever, because there's just not that many field hospitals for these medical people to join. So like there's San Diego, I know, there's Washington, there's Salt Lake City. So like, you know, just to think of how far away those places are from each other. Like if you live in the middle of Montana, you're going to be commuting to drill like 8 hours, you know?
Yeah.
And that's your option. So, I don't know, that's twofold, because they're willing to like fly us in to go to drill because they need, you know, a field hospital unit and they need it to be staffed. But, it is also like kind of a bitch having to fly like really far away to drill. So if coronavirus wasn't happening, I'd be flying to drill right now. One weekend a month.
Every drill weekend. So the Army foots that bill?
The Army foots that bill. They'll reimburse. And this is supposedly a privilege, not a right.
Yeah.
But like they'll excuse you from drill if we run out of money to do this. But they'll foot like $500 for flights to come to drill. So
you can live anywhere in the country, and if drills go back like in person on the weekends, not online, you can live anywhere and they'll fly you to drill for that weekend.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's wild. Did you envision that you would have that kind of flexibility? Like, did you know that this was going to be how it would play out?
No, not at all. I mean, and it's like, sometimes it kind of feels like a competition to see how far you can get away with things. But, I didn't think it'd be so flexible. And I know that it's probably an exception. Like I am a medical officer in a medical unit, also commanded by other medical officers.
Yeah.
Like our last commander was an ICU nurse, and like, that's not exactly a low stress job as a civilian. So then you add in being a commander too. Like these people understand, like we have obligations. Like if our manager tells us, hey, we know that you had drill, but is there any way you can ask for an excusal because the unit's really short staffed, like in the hospital? Can you come work? Like sometimes those excuses have been granted, but like,
gotcha.
You know, so there is flexibility, but it's probably just because of who my coworkers are and like the more so culture of my unit right now.
Makes sense.
I don't know if other people have it as easy as I do sometimes.
Okay.
But there's also a lot of work that goes on. Like my unit tends to get all of their administrative stuff done outside of drill, which kind of leaves drill for, you know, cutting loose ends and getting stuff done.
Okay. But, so you find yourself engaging with your Army unit outside drill weekends pretty often?
Oh yeah. Probably, you know, at least an hour of emails a week, realistically.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
and it's worth noting that's not on drill status. That's an unpaid, like that's just part of the deal. You got to do it.
Well, yeah. Sometimes it's paid if like the leaders above me are like, oh yeah, they seem to have done a lot of work. Let's foot the bill for that. Yeah.
Interesting.
Give them an RMA is what it's called. It's like just like they'll pay you like an extra 4 hours a month or something like that.
Okay.
But if you drop off that, then they'll be like, hey man, like, what'd you do this month? And if you don't have like specific examples, then like, you won't get that extra stuff. So
gotcha.
If you really did do a lot of work and you feel like you deserved it, it's totally within reason to ask for that extra pay.
Cool.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. So when you first started after college in nursing, you got a civilian job in Utah, and that was just also where you picked up your reserve job, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So at what point did you leave that civilian job and like take on this whole like van thing and travel nursing thing?
So nursing, it's like just an overly short-staffed career in the country right now. And every hospital needs to staff nurses, right? So they hire travel nurses, which is we go in and fill in spots at hospitals that are like low census or that don't have enough staff naturally. So Vermont tends to be one of those places because like nobody really lives in Vermont, besides you and me. So, so they hire travel nurses like pretty often. And, as a nurse, once you get 2 years of experience, you can contact a company, become a travel nurse, and then you end up making about like pretty much twice as much as a travel nurse as a regular nurse.
Wow.
Who just stays in the same spot all the time. So, but you have to move every, 3 months at a minimum, or like sometimes you can sign on longer to like a max of about a year, and then you have to leave.
Are they paying you more because you're moving so much, or because you, as the temporary guy, are just going to get the shifts that nobody wants? Like, why is it so much more lucrative?
It's both. Like the bottom line is that hospital needs the staff to take care of patients. Yeah. So they'll pay quite a bit for travel nurses to come there and take care of those patients. And because of that, you end up getting like sometimes the crappier patients or the crappier assignment. And you don't get like as much flexibility with like, hey, I need these days off, or I need these days off.
Gotcha.
And there's less face-to-face with like management, because like you're just the Band-Aid on this hospital that doesn't have staff. So like,
pay you for it. Yeah.
They'll pay you for it essentially.
Sweet. Okay.
But yeah, so I was in Reno last, and before that I was in UVM as a travel nurse, and then I came back to UVM this summer as a travel nurse.
Nice.
Yeah.
Vermont's not a bad spot for the summer.
No, it's not. I mean, mountain biking is awesome, so can't argue with that.
Yeah, right on. So now you're about to move on to the next assignment. Do you know where that is yet?
No, I don't know where that is yet. With Vermont's new travel restrictions, it seems like once we leave here, we won't be able to come back unless we're working again. So we're going to quarantine and see family, and then quarantine again to see my other family, and then that'll probably put us like right after Christmas.
Okay.
So we're going to take off until then.
So you're able to, do a contract with travel nursing on the civilian side right now, basically online drills, and then between contracts, you just kind of remain unemployed, and except for like reserve pay and reserve benefits, and you kind of just travel around and ski and do what you want.
Yeah. And then the best part about that is the Army's health insurance. Like, that doesn't stop. So, most people, it's really true what they say. Like, you need work because you need health insurance, and like going, so the Army's hooking me up with that. Our inevitable end goal is to pay off like my wife's student debt and our van debt. Yeah. So that way we can utilize like the Army health insurance, and not work maybe for a year or two.
Nice.
And just travel around in the van all the time.
Cool.
But right now the van's mostly being utilized as like a in between assignments vehicle.
Okay. So you're not living full-time van life at this point.
Well, tomorrow I do. I'm moving out of this apartment and then moving into the van tomorrow. Gotcha. And then we're done paying rent for the month. So we'll just live in the van, and whenever we want to go back to work, we will.
Yeah. Dude, that's pretty rad. So it sounds like you have some future plans to continue with the Army. Like it wasn't just for the scholarship piece. I got my school paid for, and now I'm out. Like you're enjoying it so far? Like it's working for you?
I wouldn't say I'm necessarily enjoying it. I understand it's like, it's not recruiting commercials.
Yeah.
Like it's not what it looks like, but
there's no music in the background constantly that gets you fired up.
That'd be so sick. No, but I mean, I do understand what it's useful for. And I'm like, if you ask me right now, would I be in the military in 5 years or not?
Yeah.
I don't know what I would tell you. Like sometimes it's really annoying. And with this coronavirus stuff, it's like 2/3 of my unit right now is just on hold to like go mobilize to some part of the country and be healthcare staff there.
Gotcha.
But in typical military fashion, like they're not really thinking big picture. They're taking like ICU nurses and ICU doctors and taking them out of their important ICU jobs and saying, hey, you're going to go work in like essentially a military nursing home. Just to like babysit somewhat sick people. So, but those are obviously just my views, not anybody else's, but
I'll put that in a disclaimer.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, naturally there is a component of, any government function that gets lost like that. So it's the nature of the beast at times. But
sure.
So I mean, I'm curious. You've been in 3 years-ish now. What are you in? 02, 03?
I'm an 02. I'm a first lieutenant. Yeah.
So I mean, it's all public information. If somebody wants to Google how much an 02 makes, but like on a drill weekend, are you since you're doing it basically for the healthcare, are you able to make any money every month from the Army, or like what's that breakdown?
Yeah, I make like an extra like $350 or something like that.
Okay.
For showing up to drill. And it's not that bad. It wasn't that bad when I was living in Salt Lake City and drill was just up the road.
Yeah.
But now that like last year I was flying from Reno to Salt Lake. So like you just, you put this much time into flying there and then you put this much time to flying back. And like, that's where it kind of gets annoying.
The hourly gets cut pretty quickly when you're commuting for it. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, and it's just like, just to be candid, like it's nothing compared to what a typical travel nurse makes.
Sure.
So it's like, if it was really up to me, I think we should show up to drill like 6 days in a row and then not go for 2 months.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, I think that'd be the most useful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
sure.
It's not up to me.
No, maybe one day, but not yet. Yeah. Right on. So is it something, I mean, you kind of like, I don't want to say fell into it, like you found yourself here, and it's working out for you, but is it something that you would recommend?
Yeah, I think it's, unless Bernie Sanders survives till the next election and we get free college. The free college is definitely worth it.
Yeah.
And then I regrettably have not been able to take advantage of like the cool sides of the military yet. But my unit does deploy for like month-long health missions to places like Honduras.
Cool.
We're supposed to go to Australia in July. I bet we don't, but we're supposed to.
Yeah.
Just for a month and a half. And like, who doesn't want to go to Australia for a month and a half?
Seriously.
And like, that's the kind of stuff that like people in the civilian world are like, oh, I want to go sign up to be like a nurse in, this part of the world for, 2 months. Like that part seems awesome. I just didn't have all my boxes checked when our unit lasted those missions, but
is it something
I will this summer?
There you go. Are those things that you just volunteer for, or they say, hey, you're going here, you don't have a choice? How does that work?
It's about half and half. Like you, the unit as a unit does get deployed. I will not, it gets mobilized to these places. And as long as you are one of the MOSs that they need a slot for, like it's probably pretty fair to say you're going to go.
Yeah.
But then like, if it's an awesome thing, like it's something cool and you say you don't want to go and it's easy to reach out to another unit and ask for, hey, we need a nurse who wants to go like to Costa Rica. Like that's not going to be hard to find. So
yeah, no kidding. So you're saying you haven't been able to take advantage of those yet, but I mean, beyond, I guess, like just the standard Army training, like has the Army taken you anywhere cool other than like Utah, or has it kind of been pretty standard so far?
No, it's been pretty standard so far.
Yeah.
Regrettably.
Yeah.
I listen to other guys on your podcast and they've got like, 15 years and all this experience. And it's like, I'm definitely, I'm essentially like talking to a private, but just on the officer side. So
sure. Yeah. those opportunities come with time, and that's how they get you to stay in.
Yeah. They dupe you.
Yeah. Do you have long-term aspirations for the military at this point, or how do you feel about it?
No, I mean, I wouldn't really say
Okay.
I have long-term aspirations. It's kind of like, I feel like as like a first or second lieutenant in the infantry, I feel like those guys are like really looking forward to their PL time. And then when they get to company commander, they might be looking forward to that. But then everything after that is kind of administrative and that kind of crap. Yeah. And I feel like it's going to be the same thing for me as I rank up. And like, I don't really have interest in that. I do like being a nurse. I do like, patient care and doing that job. So once I'm out of that job because of rank or something like that, it's probably going to be a lot less important to me at that point.
Yeah. You're in it for the hands-on experience and like the excitement of it, not the desk work.
Right. Yeah.
I think most people find themselves in the military for that reason. And then they're in long enough to where they kind of just get, I don't want to say like stuck, but like they push it out to the end with the admin job just to get the benefits. So
right. I mean, and that makes sense. And if I get to that point because of whatever, then maybe we'll decide then. But right now it's like, it's a little bit more annoying every month than it would be rewarding right now, but I'm sure that could change.
Yeah. So I think it also depends on like what your civilian life is like, like if civilian life that you're doing on the outside is awesome, then drill's an inconvenience. But if like what you do on those drill weekends is more fun than what you do in the regular life, then it's like you look forward to it, so it all depends on how, it's all relative to life.
Well, I think it's kind of a interesting paradox compared to the rest of the military. Like as an ICU nurse in the civilian world, like I'm more likely to see like car crashes and gunshots and all that other stuff in my civilian job than I am in my military job right now.
Interesting.
At least right now. But
yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know.
I mean, as kind of like a mostly peacetime military right now, like, yeah.
I mean, the excitement is, it's going to happen in the military and in the civilian world. And like, it doesn't necessarily matter too much where it happens to me.
Yeah.
I'm just looking to be interested in my work.
Cool, man.
And so
do you have any regrets at this point, or like as far as your career, as far as how you played it out?
No, I think I kind of lucked out, honestly. Like, I know other nurses like really want to be travel nurses, but they're still in active duty, and you can't do that. Like that's not a thing. And like I was able, once you graduate college and go active duty, you have to do 2 years as like a med surg nurse.
Okay.
Which is taking care of like more of less sick patients, if that makes sense. So they'll have four patients and all of them are like a little less sick. And because I went civilian, I was able to go straight into an ICU, taking care of like 2 patients who are barely sick.
Okay.
So you get to see a lot more exciting stuff that way, which isn't something that I wouldn't have been able to do that if I went active duty.
They like slowly work you up to that kind of thing if you go active duty.
Yeah. I mean, it's more like they want you to check the box. Like they want you to have 2 years of med surg nursing before you can go into the ER or the ICU.
Yeah.
And then military hospitals right now are just like, they don't take care of nearly the same number of patients or the same sickness of patients, because people in the military are pretty healthy for the most part. So,
for sure.
I got to see a lot more going civilian, but I'm really glad I did the reserves. I mean, I just hope I get to use it for its full potential in the future. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely, man. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing your story. Do you have any last minute advice to anybody who's maybe thinking about the route?
I mean, I think the only advice I'd really give is for like those guys who are in the military, who are getting out and they don't know what to do. Like, even if like healthcare is not your field, go become a nurse, because it's hard work, but it's 3 days a week, and then you get 4 days off, and then it's good money. And like I lived in Lake Tahoe last year, and I live in Burlington, Vermont this summer. And when I leave here, I'm going to go pick somewhere awesome to live again.
Yeah.
And like if skiing and biking is your thing, like being a nurse is an awesome way to accomplish those two activities. So
that's awesome, man. Good
that's
advice.
all I got.
Yeah. If I were to do school all over again, I would probably do nursing. Like my mom's a nurse, so I don't know. For some reason, because of that, just never really appealed to me. I wanted to do something different. But the more I learn about like the nursing opportunities, dude, it's not a bad lifestyle.
There's a lot of perks to the job, but I also got yelled at by a homeless guy last night. So, and that is not uncommon.
Well, the night shift, those things come out at night, so you never know.
Yeah, they sure do. But yeah,
awesome, man. I really appreciate you coming on, and I look forward to seeing where you guys end up next.
All right, cool. Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into that episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it kind of got your juices flowing to think about what is possible for your military career if you're deciding to take one on, or how you can kind of stay in partially and keep it as maybe a side hustle like Leo's doing. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you haven't already followed me on Instagram at Military Bottom Line, that's the best way to stay in touch and find out when new episodes, new videos, new everything comes out. So feel free to follow me there. Hope you guys are doing well.